everyone. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Brittany Jones-Cooper. The Rockettes really need no introduction, but I'll give them one anyway. The Precision Dance Troupe has appeared at Radio City Music Hall since 1933 in the annual Christmas Spectacular, and they're back this year in a show that is bigger and better than ever. Take a look. Put your hands together for Danelle Morgan, Keeler, and Abbey Kowalec. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming dressed for the event. I really appreciate it. It really got me in a really festive mood. I went to the show 2 nights ago and I was like, oh, it's Christmas season. It immediately puts you in that headspace. So Karen, I'll start with you. You're the creative director.
Yes, I am.
But you're also a former Rockette, right?
I am. I was a Rockette for 14 seasons. An amazing experience, obviously, to be part of the sisterhood and the tradition of the Rockettes. This is my 5th season as a creative director. So I have the great privilege of working with these ladies, as well as the 78 other Rockettes creating the choreography for the show. We just saw a clip from our finale called Christmas Lights. We put that number into the show last season, and we made changes to it this year and brought it back again with an amazing reveal of the women. There's a giant red curtain that gets sucked to reveal the women who are elevated 8 feet into the air. It's unbelievably gorgeous and show-stopping, and that's the start of the number. And they deserve an entrance like that, as far as I'm concerned. So it's an honor to choreograph for them. And we've kicked off the season, and we're off and running now until January 5th. It's super exciting. Yeah.
And so, you know, this show is such an iconic show. It's such a part of the fabric of the city during the holiday season. As a creative director, how do you sort of toe that line of keeping the tradition, but also bringing in new things for the audience?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you'll always come and see the traditional numbers like the wooden soldiers, like the Living Nativity, which we also put in a new aspect to. We have 2 beautiful angels who are aerialists.
That was very cool.
Yes, and they guide the star and into the reveal of the nativity scene. It's beautiful. But of course, we do new things every year. And part of that, you know, I always think about it's not only the choreography that's necessarily new, but it's the combination of women who make up the line. And this year in particular, we really extended ourselves, reaching to new dancers across the country of all backgrounds, really opening the door to every young woman to find that being a Rockette is a pathway for them. And so that was a big initiative this year, and to represent our line and represent women from all over.
Yeah, you guys did an open casting, right? Like you went to different cities.
We did. This was the first year in a long time that we went outside of New York. So we went to Chicago and Atlanta. And again, just to put ourselves out there and in search of the best dancers. And from across the country, you know, a lot of people may not have the opportunity to come to New York. So we're seeking out the talent and welcoming everyone to come and take a chance to audition. And it may not be something that happens this year, but maybe it's something that we can steer you towards and guide you to finding a career as a Rockette.
Yeah, I actually read an article, Danelle, and they quoted you just about the initiative to make sure that the line was as inclusive as possible. So why has that been something so important to the organization this year?
Well, I think that the Radio City Rockettes need to be a reflection of this beautiful city that is New York City, you know? And I think that the company is very much aware that when you look at the stage, it doesn't necessarily look like a day walking on the street in New York City. So we want to open the lineup and just have everyone who comes to see the show see a reflection of themselves. And I think that for me growing up, it's been knowing that working as a Radio City Rockette, I've influenced and had a positive impact on many young dancers who look like me. And I think it's really important that we all expand the line to make sure that everyone comes to see the show and see something that looks like them.
That's such a great way to put it, because it is such a family show, and you see so many girls and boys in the audience who are looking at you dancers and just you can see that that's what they want to do. I want to know for each of you, I'll start with you, Danelle, what was your sort of journey to becoming a Rockette? Because I read that this is your 14th season?
This is my 14th
Yeah.
season.
So where did that journey
kicking.
start in dancing for you?
Yeah, well, I'm actually from New Jersey, so I grew up coming to the Christmas Spectacular when I was a little girl, but my dance background, I studied at the Ailey School. So I have a more modern and contemporary dance background with ballet thrown in there. So when the Rockettes, coming to see the Radio City Rockettes every year, it wasn't necessarily the like, ooh, I'm gonna do that. That wasn't necessarily my journey and my path. So I studied at the Ailey School, and I wanted to go to the Ailey Company. That's what I wanted to do. That was the path I was on. And the Rockettes came to Ailey. And they did a workshop. And I was like, I have tap shoes, so I'm gonna go to do that. So I dusted off my tap shoes, and I went to this experience that was hosted by the Rockettes. And I thought it was gonna be the easiest thing. I was like, I hear the Rockettes is a cute gig, let's do that.
They kick.
Yeah, they just do a bunch of kicks,
it.
and then they go home, it's great. So I went to the workshop, and it was hard. It was such a challenge that I did not anticipate or expect, and I instantly sort of like fell in love with it. I was like, what is this thing? It's hard, and it's our job to make it look easy. And so I sort of like took a little turn where I was like, oh, I want to be a Rockette now. And I actually auditioned 3 times. It took me 3 times to get hired, and now here I am 14 years later.
It's amazing. And Abby, this is your first season.
Yes, rookie season as a Rockette.
Rookie season. So take me through your journey really quickly in dance and how you became a Rockette.
Of course. So I grew up in Connecticut, a very small town in Connecticut. So coming into the city was very easy growing up. So I was able to see the Christmas Spectacular at a very young age. And from that moment, the very first moment I saw them, I knew that it was something that I dreamed to do growing up. I studied classical ballet when I was younger. So a lot of my high school years, I actually commuted into the city for my classical ballet training. Then from there, I went to school for dance. I got my BFA in dance. And at school, I actually focused more on modern and jazz, in addition to studying tap and ballet as well there. Following that, I was lucky enough to dance for the Knicks basketball team, which is more so like commercial style dancing. So that was a great opportunity for me right out of school. However, the Rockettes was something that I always dreamed of doing, and was something that I was determined to do no matter how many times I heard no. I was very determined to come back every year. I actually auditioned 11 times to be where I am today, and every single audition I went to, I was more and more determined to come back stronger, both technically and just as a human, and my determination was something that really got me as far as I am today, and I'm so excited to be here finally as a Radio City Rockette.
See, I love knowing the backstories because what you guys do on stage, you said, you make it look so easy, but when you really start paying attention, you see the precision, you see how intricate it is, you see that it's ballet, tap, and jazz, and you can understand the experience on the stage. So take me through rehearsals, Karen. What is that like? Because
It's intense. So we rehearse about 3 weeks, 6 hours, 6 days a week in a studio space, and that's where we stage all the numbers, they learn all the choreography, and then we go into the theater, and in the theater we do about 10 days of tech rehearsal, adding in all the elements of the costumes, of the lighting, of the scenic design, the orchestra, and so we keep layering in to lead up to opening night. But rehearsals are very intense. The amount of choreography that these women learn is immense. And then factoring in all of the detail on top of the movement, everything is staged like on a giant grid. So every 4 feet on the stage, there's a colored line, and then there's numbers every 2 feet. So every move you make, every step you take, and every formation that we find, you have a specific number and colored line to be on, and that's what makes everything look so uniform and precise. And there's definitely an arc in the rehearsal process of just learning the material, just getting it into your body, and then starting to perform it, and then like being able to peak at the right time around opening. And now, they're in the run of the season, so hopefully they're enjoying it a little bit. They put the hard work in, and now they get to get a response from the audience for their hard work. So.
I just got a little anxious when she was talking. I'm not
did
even
too.
joking about the grids and the lines and the 14 seasons in. Does it get easier, right? It's like muscle memory at this point, maybe.
Well, you start to learn there are patterns that do happen, but I always say it's like every year I come back and I'm a new Rockette.
Yeah.
Because depending on where you stand in the line can completely change what you do in the show. So that's something that I think keeps us coming back, is that you're always striving to become that much better, that much stronger. And the show changes for us year to year. So it's definitely a challenge. And I mean, for sure, the anxiety does come with rehearsals, but you know, it's always worth it. And when you see the outcome and what we put out there on stage, it's just worth it tenfold. And then to have the opportunities that we have as Radio City Rockettes is amazing.
Abby, I see you nodding, and it's your first season. So that rehearsal process, what has this experience been for you, just like retaining it all and learning it all?
Yeah, so I actually also had the pleasure of doing the Rockette Summer Intensive, which is a great tool in order to prepare young dancers to see what it's like to be a Rockette, and it's kind of a day in the life of a Rockette. You get to work with the Rockettes one-on-one just in the rehearsal setting, so we actually have the Summer Intensive at the same studio that we rehearse in for the Christmas Spectacular. So that alone was a great opportunity for me to prepare mentally and physically for what was to come for the rehearsal process. For the rookies, we actually started off the whole season with an 8-day boot camp. So with that, we were able to actually prepare coming into the season. So we were able to learn almost all of the numbers, little bits and pieces of it. And so we really had the best opportunity to come in as prepared as we could be before we were in the room with 80 women.
80 women and so many costumes. What is your shortest costume change?
We have 8 costume changes in the show, and our shortest is from the Parade of the Wooden Soldiers, and that leads into New York at Christmas, the big bus number, and that's about 78 seconds, that change. So I always say
That's like hats and
it's
pants
hats,
and
gloves, a jacket, pants, shoes, socks, and then you have to put on a dress, a jacket, earrings, a headpiece, gloves, you know, it's insane, but I say that when I'm running late in real life, I have no problem because I just need 78 seconds. It's easy.
Does everybody just have like a little like elementary school cubby? Like everything's just in there?
We always say it's just as choreographed off stage as it is on stage. So we have dressers that help get us in and out of costume, and we sort of coordinate with our neighbors where I'll put my shoes on first and she'll do her dress so she can get zipped into that. So we say always do something. Just in your
keep
just
moving,
keep
keep
moving.
moving.
Always put something on and keep moving. And yeah, so it's super choreographed off stage. So you hear and see the same things on stage and off stage throughout the season.
I have to talk about the toy soldiers because I love that. That's one where you, I guess, like where you're positioned kind of really changes, because if you're in the middle, you're not really moving that much. If you're at the end, you're basically sprinting.
Very true.
It's always the less tall women who are running around the stage.
I was like, who pulled the short straw? You're just on the outside, just like trying to hold on for dear life. It has to be one of the coolest things you guys do. It's so synchronized. And then obviously the fall at the end. So just take me through doing that for the first time, I'm sure, after seeing it and then actually being in that line.
Definitely. It's something really magical to be a part of the Parade of the Wooden Soldiers, only because it has been a part of the show for so long. It originated in 1933. So it's been a part of the show for that long. And just knowing that I'm a part of the legacy of the Rockettes, and that's something that is a true it's just an iconic number in its entirety, and it's something that's really special to be a part of. As far as the fall goes, it obviously takes a lot of rehearsal. There's a lot of strength that goes into it, even though it looks very easy.
It doesn't look easy.
Oh, good.
No, it doesn't. I can see you guys bracing and like locking, and I'm like, I haven't been to the gym in 2 years, you know? So it looks hard to me.
It definitely takes a lot of strength, but it's something that we have very specific movements that go, every single person in the line has to be responsible for, and it's the true representation of teamwork, being in that line and being a Rockette, and we all have to fight for it, and we all work really hard to make it happen seamlessly.
On that note, what sort of work do you guys do after show or between shows? Because I know some days there's 5 shows a day. I know there's different troops, but still I'm sure that's a toll on your body. So what kind of just little tricks do you have to stay fresh?
I think a big thing is rest. You know, we eat to fuel our bodies, so that means lots of calories, lots of carbs. You know, we do up to 4 shows in a day, so it's really important that we take care of our body. We take lots of naps, get our rest in, and
Nap in between shows.
in between shows, we'll take a nap. Yeah, we have our little stations, and we bring our pillow and our blanket, take a little cat nap, and then get up and do it again. And it's it's definitely a rigorous season, and we fit about a year's worth of shows in just a few months. So it's very intense on our bodies, and that's why it's so important for us to take care of our bodies, and we're really regimented about that.
And the other thing is, outside of the shows they're doing events on top of that. So a lot of time, if they're not on stage, they're in rehearsal for the Thanksgiving parade or whatever the next thing is. So it's just a constant cycle. These women are incredible athletes, and they do whatever they have to do to manage all of the workload that they have, and it's an amazing process.
I would imagine it's nice to have you in your role, given your experience, knowing what they've been through, sort of understanding. It seems like the family part of it is really important because you guys, the schedule is so rigorous.
Yeah.
You're not,
Definitely. I think one of the best things about this job is just the sisterhood that we create throughout the season, and the sisterhood, just the bond that we have is really special. In addition to being together on stage, we're just as together off stage, which is amazing.
And just for my own personal curiosity, what is your favorite number in the show? One that, like, before you go out, you're like, I love this one.
Oh, always a tough one. I love New York at Christmas, the bus number. I just think it's so cool that we have a real double-decker bus on stage at Radio City, and you take a tour of New York City, but then you get off of the bus and you do this like sassy choreography, and I just think it's one of those moments where you feel like a Radio City Rockette. Here you are in the middle of New York City, and then you take your coat off. You have this amazing costume on, and then each part, half of the line does a dance, and then the other half does another dance, and then we all come together. There's fireworks at the end. It's just the epitome of being a Radio City Rockette, of being in Radio City Music Hall, of being in the most amazing theater in the world. It's so special, and it doesn't get old.
The visuals on that are for the audience too, really immersive and really fun. And how about you?
I think one of my favorites is actually reindeer. It's the very first dance of the entire show. So we are all wearing reindeer costumes, and we look like actual reindeer. We have reindeer antlers, and our coats represent just like it would look like we were reindeer. We come up in the back elevator of the stage, and there's a huge fog curtain that we come charging forward, and it's a really exciting moment. We take Santa off on his sleigh, and it's a great kickstart to the Christmas show.
Yeah, it really is. I love the show so much. I took my little sister, and I was like, we should just do this every year. Just it's just fun.
Put you in the spirit.
They gave me a Santa hat, and I was like, I'm in. I'm in. We do have some questions before we get out of here. Where's the first one? Back here.
Hello. We have a question from our site, and it mentions that you have a very intense schedule. So what do you like to do in your off time?
Do you have off time?
Well, we definitely have an off season, but as Rockettes, we are working year round, which is really cool. We're working on things like the finale, so new production numbers that come in, we work on those. I also teach Pilates in my free time, and we're always working to just stay in tip-top shape. We do lots of special events with the Rockettes, so we always have to be ready for them when they do pop up.
Thank you.
And one from the audience, I guess. Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
What's your guys' favorite holiday song?
Ooh.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
I love a Mariah Carey.
I know,
All
I
I
was
want
about
for
to
Christmas
say.
is you. It's not going to get old either. Yeah.
That's probably my favorite too. Is the Mariah Carey. It's a classic. You can't go wrong.
Mine is the new "Baby It's Cold Outside" by John Legend
Oh.
and Kelly Clarkson. And I listened to it yesterday. It's so funny. We have one from Twitter. Skates NYC says, "Good morning, ladies. Thank you for bringing Christmas to Build Series. The famous kick line always looks so perfect and symmetrical. Are there very strict height requirements? P.S. I always wanted to be a Radio City Rockette." Me too. I mean, so are there specific requirements? They're saying.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. We have our height ranges from 5'6" to 5'10" and a half. And what we do is we put the tallest women in the center, and then gradually it gets less tall as you go outstage. So we have the 5'10" and a half women in the center, and then it goes down to 5'6" on the end. And so when we kick, we all kick toe to eye level. So we kick to our individual eye level, and it creates an illusion. Exactly.
I was
You're gonna
in
try
until
this
that
after,
point,
huh?
because I'm 5'9", but then you said
See, you're
that.
in. You're in. It's just we'll get your high kicks.
I'll do
up
your
there,
Pilates
you know?
class, and then I'll try
Exactly.
out.
Teamwork,
How about
right?
that?
We'll build.
We'll see you next year if I can audition, if I'll be ready. In the meantime, you guys put on a wonderful show. So thank you for
Thank you
all
so
the hard
much.
work. It definitely shows out there. You guys you can catch the Rockettes at the Radio City Music Hall Christmas Spectacular now through January 5th. Put your hands together for Karen, Danelle, and Abby.